Laurel Hill Mansion was named for the abundance of laurel bushes that existed wild on the property. It is an example of Georgian and Federal-style architecture. It was built in 1767. Its construction was overseen by a Quaker woman. Her name was Rebecca Rawle. She inherited the land from her late husband Francis Rawle after he was killed in a shooting accident at his other estate in Frankfurt. Entering the house here we have what they call the front hallway. When the house was originally built you entered what they called the Great Room. The house was purchased by the city in 1869. They provided a park guard to live in the house and they added partitions to provide privacy for the guard and their family, and the octagonal room was open for public meetings and events. There are two portraits of former residents. The Chevalier de Luzerne, who was the French ambassador to the United States during the American Revolution. Above is former governor of Pennsylvania General Joseph Reed. Joseph's wife Esther Reed spent one summer here before her death in 1780 on this very property. Esther Reed founded the Ladies' Association of Philadelphia, which led local relief efforts and raised funds for the Continental Army. We have also displayed a series of heliographs called the Cries of London by Wheatley. A heliograph was a type of photography that captured an image using sunlight reflecting on a mirror. Nowadays the method is still used for photo engraving. The closet is what they used to call a warming closet. It is next to the fireplace on the other side of this wall. It was used to keep linens, blankets, pillows or breeches, anything you wanted to keep warm and cozy. At the end of the hallway we have our brief history of Rebecca Rawle. Rebecca's father Edward Warner was a member of the Carpenters Association at Carpenters Hall downtown. He was also on the committee which acquired the State House bell, later to be known as the Liberty Bell. Tax records indicate that Rebecca commissioned the mansion to be built before she married a close friend of Francis Samuel Shoemaker, who was also a widow, a Quaker, and a wealthy merchant. Samuel Shoemaker would eventually become mayor of Philadelphia. Shoemaker was a British loyalist who had to flee to New York with his stepson William and later to London. Unfortunately, back then everything a woman owned belonged to her husband at the time of marriage, down to the last bonnet or piece of jewelry, and even though Rebecca inherited the site from her late husband and insisted she had nothing to do with her current husband's political views, her summer home was seized by the Pennsylvania legislature and sold to Major James Parr, who leased it to the French ambassador mentioned earlier for a term of 5 years. There are no known portraits of Rebecca. Being a Quaker, to have a portrait made would have been considered a vain indulgence. All we have is a reproduction of her signature.